We're here, set on our final. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming and Ms. Galvan is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Ken Aranjo for the mother, Adrian Martinez. We're present, ready.
Vince Noack for the father, Israel Renya. I am present, Judge, but I have had zero contact with him since the inception of this case.
Okay, and Ms. Zavala is out, and she's given the court, of course, a vacation notice, and pursuant to the local rules, we are not going to be able to proceed today with our final because of her absence. I think that Mr. Trout, I'll just have you call your first witness. Maybe we'll identify parties and then we'll have to recess.
Yes, ma'am. We'd call Jenny Blount, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Blount, if you would raise your right hand for me.
And does the department keep records in a regular course of business?
They do, yes, sir.
And are those records, they are kept in the ordinary course?
Yes, sir.
Are the entries made at or around the time the events occur?
Yes, sir.
Are those entries made by a person with personal knowledge?
They are, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you have access to those records?
I do.
Are you a custodian of records?
Yes, sir.
Have you had the opportunity to review those records?
I have, yes, sir.
And were the affidavit of removal and investigative report filed with the court?
They were, yes, sir.
And have you reviewed those documents?
I have, yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Trout, I'm going to go ahead and just stop us at this point since Ms. Zavala is not present. I don't want to get too far in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it looks like Ms. Katie has reset us for September 24th of 2024 on a 9 o'clock docket. Has everybody seen that date and everybody's confirmed they're good for that date and time?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Okay. All right. Ms. Martinez, I'm sure Ms. Naranjo's probably talked to you about this, but we'll resume this.
Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Okay. So
I'm so sorry about that.
that's okay. We cannot proceed today because one of the attorneys is out. So we will come back for the final on September 24th. Okay.
Okay. I had a question. Is there any way, because I know whenever I took a drug test last time, it was actually lower. My stuff was lower than it was before. Can I get more hours with Xerxes, please? I mean, I know somebody that's willing to watch them like supervised over here where I do my rehab, like my sober living and stuff. And I mean, I know somebody who's willing to watch them, and they actually, I think they would pass. That way that they could watch my visits, because I know the people that watch them, they're always switching our times, and I just want somebody consistent that would be able to like be around me and Xerxes to watch them.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll have to do. Is so Ms. Prater's not with us. So Ms. Sessions, is that something that you all could meet and discuss and find out, get with Ms. Martinez and find out who this is and, you know, kind of what the idea would be there?
Yes, we could. But Judge, I think that Amy may be in the waiting room. Or is she on?
I don't have her.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I will definitely get with the supervisor on the case and let her know about this, and they'll reach out to mom.
Okay.
Yes, and then I wanted to know, like, when it comes to my caseworker, there's like, I don't know, she's really hard to get a hold of when I'm trying to get a hold of her. I was getting some other stuff had happened like recently with my vehicle, so I'm not able to move it and stuff. So I was wanting to know, like, because she said they help with rides, which she hasn't tried to put my paperwork in, like, for rides and stuff to get me to my visits.
Okay. Ms. Martinez, what I'm going to do is Ms. Sessions will get the right people, you know, notified that you all need to probably have a meeting, and
okay,
you know, and where you can, you know, sit down with them and talk about, you know, all of these specific issues. You know, I think a lot of times text, or if you have her email, is sometimes a good way to, you know, to try to communicate with your worker.
Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, they'll reach out to you and try to schedule something so that you guys can talk about all this.
Yes, ma'am. I know y'all been dealing with me for a long time, Judge Baker, but you know, like once I you've seen how much progress I can make, and you've seen how far I can fall back, but how much progress I can make in this time, because my baby's very important to me, just like my sobriety is. So, I mean, I really thank y'all for like working with me.
Okay. Ms. Prater has just logged in. What might be beneficial is if I put you all in a breakout room so that you could go ahead and give her some information. Ms. Naranjo,
Okay.
do you have a few minutes where you could go in there with them?
That's fine, Judge.
Okay. All right. So we can kind of get the ball rolling, but, so I'll put you in a breakout room with Ms. Prater and with your attorney, and y'all can, maybe get some information about this. Okay.
Am I able to
I'm sorry, what?
speak to my attorney first before we speak to her? That's possible.
Yeah, I can put you in with your attorney first, and then we can move
Okay.
we'll have to move the caseworker in there.
Okay.
I'll have to move her fairly quickly because I'm getting ready to start another hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give you and your attorney a few minutes to visit, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna put y'all in room 2. You can join. And then Ms. Prater, I'll give them a couple minutes and then I'll move you in there with them, okay?
Hey, Amy, do you want, see if you can reach out and get Stacy Brown to hop in with you, your supervisor on that
We're
too.
here for
Okay.
a review hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming. And Ms. Galvan's making our record. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Tim Colville is my permanency specialist. We are present ready. And Your Honor, I received a signature from Ms. Zavala.
All right. Ms. Vala is out this week, and she has also filed reports in our cases today. All right, Ms. Albonico is also present today. Mr. Albonico is not. All right, then. Mr. Koval, what do we have new?
Well, what we have news since the court report was filed is that Hunter has been accepted for placement at, it's not a SIL, it's not with the department, but it's like a SIL. It is an organization and a facility that works with youth that have aged out of care. And Hunter earlier this week had an interview with Hope's Path. It's in Spring, Texas. It's about 40 minutes from his current placement. And after that interview, he was accepted. We had a circle of support meeting yesterday, had a chance to have Ted McVaugh from Hope's Path on that to talk to us a little bit about what they offer. And it sounds like it's going to be a good situation for Hunter. He'll have a place to live there. He'll have the rent is an interesting situation because you get it back. He has to pay $350 a month for rent, but he will get it all back at the conclusion of the program. So that could be like a savings account for him and really set him up for when he completes the program. And they say it's about a 2 to 3 year program, and they will work with him with jobs, with getting his driver's license, all of those things to help him with his transition to adulthood.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
He didn't want to extend foster care.
Right.
And so he didn't sign those documents. And I think that he was ready to be outside the department and not having the oversight, but still having the oversight from, I believe this organization might be faith-based. He's been very active in his church, and it was someone at his church that told him about this organization. But the gentleman, Ted McVaugh from Hope's Path, actually is from Amarillo, lived in Amarillo and worked at Boys Ranch for years and years, and then relocated to Houston to help people after Hurricane Harvey. That's what he told me. So he very much knows how to help kids who are trying to transition out of foster care. So it sounds like a really good situation.
Okay. It sounds good. Sounds good. So, I mean, we can always leave it open for a while. And so is that what we want to do? Just
Yes, Judge. We'll do trial independence, and he knows that he can follow up with us at any time. Our IL coordinator told him on the the Circle of Support meeting yesterday. Jasmine Hutchinson, she told him, you've got my number and call me at any time. She's assigned to him until he turns 21. So if he changes his mind and wants to re-enter care, he can certainly do so. And that's been explained to him, and he said that he understands that.
Okay. All right. Okay, Ms. Albonico, do you have any questions about this? And you're muted, ma'am. Okay, Ms. Albonico, can you unmute? Let me send her a prompt. There we go. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about this?
I don't think so. I was on the Circle of Support meeting yesterday, so everything that Tim is going over, I also heard yesterday.
Okay. All right, and you're supportive of his decision to do this?
I would have liked for him to stay in the program, but I understand he's growing up and he needs to make some of his own choices. So the program that he's going into does sound like it will be a good fit for him as long as he can follow the rules and do everything he's supposed to do. I think it'll be a good thing for him.
Okay.
Hey, Tim, when is he supposed to, I know he turns 18 in a few days or within the next week. Is he, when does he move into that program?
He will move on his birthday.
Okay.
He turns 18 on the 31st, and we talked yesterday about whether we needed to provide transportation, but Hope's Path is going to pick him up and move all of his things to Spring. And like I said, it's not very far away, so
Yeah.
it'll be an easy move.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sounds good. So we'll continue the department as permanent managing conservator until he turns 18. Then we'll go into a trial independence period. So we have a scheduled review hearing for January 16th of 2025. And we can see where we're at that point in time. But he's got some time to see if this is going to work out. So, okay. I appreciate it. Ms. Albonico, thank you for logging in.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Tim.
We're here today for a review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Galvan is making our record. Sorry, my light's just timed out. I'm in the dark. Okay. We'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Tamara Ring is my primacy specialist. We are present ready.
Wade Bird on behalf of Betsy Leal, both me and Miss Leal, we are present and ready.
And Judge, I apologize. Tamara Martinez. I think I'm still used to calling her by her prior last name, so I apologize.
As we all do. All right. Ms. Vala is out this week. Ms. Sapien is also out. Both have given notice to the court of their vacations.
And Judge, I did get a signature from Ms. Zavala.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Vala also filed a report in the case. Okay, then what do we have new since the court report was filed?
There's nothing new since the court report was filed in regards to Jasmine. She's continuing to do well in her placement. She's thriving there. I still have not heard anything from Mr. Diaz while he's been incarcerated. The only change in regards to Miss Flores is she did report, I believe it was last week when I met with her, that she did leave her job so that she could stay home and help care for her boyfriend's daughter during the summer.
Okay. Department have any concerns as far as her providing childcare?
She's been testing negative
Okay.
on her drug screens.
Okay. Right. Any services that she lacks at this point in time?
The only thing at this point in time that we've been asking her to do is go to Dallas monthly to attend Jasmine's appointments. We provided her with the appointment list in September. I believe she's attended 5 times since then.
Okay, Ms. Flores, I mean, can you make these monthly trips?
I
I can, but it's been kind of hard with the bills. Starting in August, I should have a job. Today I have 3 interviews to go to, so I should be able to attend. I've actually attended 7, I believe, of her appointments or her therapy sessions since September.
So you think you've gone to 7 different appointments?
Yes, ma'am. I went to September, October, November, December, February, and in May.
Okay, you understand, you understand why St. Francis is wanting you to do that and why, why
Yes.
I also want you to do that because
Yes, ma'am.
Jasmine has lots and lots of, very special needs. And, it's just critically important that you learn about her care. So, I guess just stay in contact with Ms. Martinez about these things. And, I really do want you to try to make everything that you can.
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Okay. All right, Mr. Byrd, anything today?
We were in agreement with the order and we would have signed it. However, on 5.2, it says that the jury trial, the next hearing that we will have in this will be via electronics or Zoom. And I objected to that. And I was told that I had to be here at the hearing in order to get your approval for us not to have a Zoom jury trial.
No,
Well,
we're not having a Zoom jury trial.
And well, Judge, and what that is, and what I told Mr. Byrd, I emailed him the other day after I remembered what this was. It's a paragraph that the court wanted put in all of our orders. It's just one of those standard things that goes in our orders. I'll mark it out. I just wanted to make sure because the court had asked us to put that in our order. So I'm good marking that out. That's why we're still here.
Okay. So just no problem.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing a Zoom jury trial.
Well, and I figured that was the case, but if you read that statute and all that, if I do not object,
yeah,
then I lost my opportunity to say that, like this morning when I couldn't get on Zoom, that I don't think it's a good idea.
No, we are set for the jury trial on September 11th of 2024. So, and then after that, we do have another review hearing scheduled for January 16th of 2025, depending on obviously the outcome, of that trial. So, okay. Ms. Zavala's recommendation was just to maintain placement, that the child's doing very well, and all of her needs are being met. And so, her recommendation was to keep the status quo.
And Judge, real quick, I know we're set for jury trial. I don't think he's entitled to one because he hasn't asked for it, and I don't believe termination is being sought. But Dad's in prison. He is not represented by an attorney, but there's not asking for termination. It's a PMC case is what's being asked on that. Just wanted to bring it to the court's attention. I don't believe he's entitled to an attorney unless he asks. Correct.
I would agree.
Okay.
He has not requested that throughout the pendency of the case.
Yes, ma'am.
And if the department is not seeking termination, then I'm not going to appoint unless he requests.
Yes, ma'am. Just want to make sure on that before we got too far in.
Yeah. All right, then. I will continue Jasmine's current placement and continue the department as temporary managing conservator. Find that there would be a continuing and ongoing danger to the child to return the child home today. And that question will be put before a jury. And like I said, that will be September 11th. And we'll start at 9 o'clock. My understanding, just so there's no confusion, counsel, let's see, Ms. Katie, what court reporter is taking that?
That'll be in the 320th, Judge.
Okay.
So Ms. Wall.
Yeah, Ms. Wall is going to be our reporter for that trial, and she's requested that we move up to their courtroom, so she didn't have to move all her gear back and forth. So it will be held in the 320th district courtroom instead of our courtroom. So
Thank you, Your Honor.
okay, I appreciate everybody, and I'll see you back September 11th.
Yes,
See you
ma'am.
soon.
And Mr.
Okay.
Byrd, I marked that paragraph out on this order.
If that paragraph's out, I have no objection to order being entered as it was. Other than that, like I said, I just want to preserve my objection, Your Honor.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all very
Okay.
much. Finally get a real courtroom and I can't use it.
Well, that's the pits.
Well, and it really is because we have the extra council tables
Yeah.
that they don't have. So we are here today on a review hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming. And Ms. Galvan's making our record for us today. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Alicia Walker is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Jeff Hill standing in for Natalie Archer on behalf of the mother, Maria Walker. I see she's present, Judge. We're ready.
Joel Jackson on behalf of the child, Richard Walker, present and ready, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Alicia Walker. We'll try to keep it from being confusing. What do we have as far as an update?
So Richard was arrested on July 15th for attacking his roommate. Him and this particular roommate haven't been getting along here recently. And this roommate is a bit of an instigator, and it worked. And he got released on July 22nd, and he got out on a PR bond. He had a hearing on the 23rd, but that judge wasn't aware that he was intellectually disabled. So they scheduled another hearing for September 17th, and his placement is going to bring paperwork showing that he is intellectually disabled. And then we will just go from there after we have that hearing. But he was able to return back to his placement, and he's doing okay now. And that roommate is supposed to be moving to a different home sometime this week.
Okay. All right. Other than that, I mean, is this kind of a one-off for him?
Yeah.
I mean, he's had behaviors in the past, but ever since he got moved back to Amarillo, he's done so much better. I mean, up until this incident.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I've read consistently that he's essentially is respectful and you know, likes to be helpful, and so that's just kind of surprises me, but your explanation probably accounts for it. Okay, so he is at Randall High, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How about visits? Those are going well?
Yeah, they're going really well.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, hopefully that they will provide that information, and maybe that will make a distinct difference in the outcome of that arrest. So, okay, Mr. Hill.
Judge, I don't have anything specific to add. The notes I was given from Ms. Archer indicate things are going well for Ms. Walker. If she has got anything to add, I'd sure encourage her to speak up and let us know. But as far as I know, everything's going well.
Okay, Ms. Walker, anything to talk about today, or any questions?
No, not today.
Okay, all right. Okay, then Mr. Jackson.
Judge, Alicia Walker had informed me yesterday via email about his release, and then had a hearing yesterday. I'm not sure what type of hearing that was. I'm guessing it was probably an arraignment. I don't know. And I'm just needing at this point in time to verify if they're going to have another hearing for this child. I need to figure out where this case is at, what court it's in. I want to make sure that Richard has an attorney representing him. He needs somebody there with him for an arraignment if that's what he's doing. And I'm just trying to dot that I and cross that T. And I don't know if Mr. Trout might have insight on this. I don't know.
I don't, but I will talk to caseworker Ms. Walker on this and see if we can get all that figured out, and I'll try to get you the information, Joe.
But thank you. And as far as placement's concerned, it's my understanding that after all this went through, they were going to try to move the child to another home that's the alleged victim in this case, and that they were willing to keep. It's my understanding they were willing to allow Richard to stay there as long as he liked. And if I'm wrong about that, Alicia Walker, you can let the court know, but that's my understanding.
That's correct.
Okay, because he's going to turn 18 in October.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So, I mean, have we started having that discussion? I mean, is Richard gonna maybe sign extended care?
I haven't talked to him about that just yet. And I'm not 100% sure if he can do extended foster care in an HCS home. I was told that he couldn't, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so it is an HCS slot. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, now that's a different situation. Yeah, that takes care of it. So he should be able to remain there then. Okay. All right then. Anybody have anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No.
All right then, Miss Alicia Walker, if you will, please get that information to Mr. Trout or to Mr. Jackson about where this case is pending, and so he has some information to make sure that Richard's got an attorney and is got the help that he needs with that. Okay, then I will continue the department as permanent managing conservator and continue Richard's current placement. And we will have another review hearing scheduled for January 16th of 2025. And that'll be on a 9:00 docket. We are here today on a special setting. I'm not totally clear what we're doing today, other than having read Ms. Zavala's report. I maybe have some inkling. We are conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and Ms. Galvan is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Jay Michelson on behalf of Kimberly Oldham, mother. We are present and ready.
Maureen Lucero on behalf of the father, Miguel Contreras, Your Honor, present and ready.
Okay, and Ms. Zavala is out this week, but she did file a report on this matter with a recommendation. So I'm sure that's been circulated to all of you.
I'm gonna be honest, Your Honor, I haven't looked at hers. I think I did see that it came through. I just haven't reviewed it yet. We kind of had a meeting last week on something else with all the attorneys. What we asked for this for today was just, there's been a couple of instances that have come up that has been concerning, and just to kind of take pressure off everybody to know where everything stands, we just wanted it put in front of the court. For instance, my understanding that, we extended the case. The department still has temporary managing conservatorship at this time, while we work through getting PMC with PCA, trying to get that approved and get that done. I've been notified that there's been an instance where, I don't remember what this was, a month or so ago, where mom was driving with the kids in the car. Is my understanding mom doesn't have a license. I know that, we filed an MSA on this that addresses alcohol use within 12 hours of the kids being in the home, but prior to being in the home and while they're in the home. There's been one instance where not within that time period that dad's alcohol screens came back positive. So I just wanted some clarification for all parties that we do have an MSA that addresses visitation situations and how that will proceed once the case goes forward. But that the department still has TMC and whether parents are still abiding by the rules as the case normally. We had concerns with mom driving with the children in the car without a license, which we don't allow during a normal case, even prior to the MSA being filed. Dad's drinking has been an issue throughout the case and has been addressed. So even though it's not part of the MSA, our stance is that he since the children are still TMC and he's still being tested, that is still, we need to watch out for the alcohol use throughout till we get out of the case. So that is kind of what we wanted to address today, is those type of situations.
All right, so the MSA obviously addresses what will happen moving forward when the case goes to a final order.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we extended because we wanted to work with placement and let them get that financial assistance worked out and all that as being a PMC, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And the MSA does address kind of a step-up visitation up until and then after we're out of the case is what we're looking at also.
Okay.
And I'll have to have Miss Ashley kind of speak on this. I believe there was I believe it's Mr. Contreras is maybe an older child that stayed in the house that's not approved to stay in the house, but I'll have to ask Miss Ashley some questions on that.
Okay. All right. You want to go ahead and have me swear her?
Yes, ma'am, if we can.
Okay. All right, Miss Ashley, if you will, raise your right hand.
You've been here while we've been speaking to the judge, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you give some clarification on, was there an issue with another child or adult staying in the home?
Yes, sir. On June 15th, there was an overnight visit approved for Kimberly per the MSA and Miguel's adult son, who we are unable to run background checks for, and so he's not approved to stay the night. He did stay the weekend at their home.
Okay. Was this addressed prior to that or after that happened? Or did you find out about that?
She was aware that they were both aware that he was not supposed to spend overnights in the home prior.
Okay. And when did you say that happened?
June 15th.
Have you had the discussion again since then that unapproved, due to the department still being in the case, unapproved parties can't stay during the overnight visits?
Yes, we had the I reminded her after I found out that he had stayed the night.
Okay. All right. Have y'all reached an understanding on that, or is it still a source of contention?
It hasn't occurred again since we discussed it that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. But you have notified parents that anybody else to stay in the home has to be background checks and approved through department.
Yes, sir.
And that they are not allowed to be in the home at this time.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you. I'm kind of losing my voice. Can I call you Christy? It'll be easier.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Christy, we had a conversation yesterday, Kimberly Oldham and I, and she had informed me that at one point during the visitation cycle, she or a family member was ill and they were not able to visit, or Kimberly was concerned about visiting due to the children maybe catching whatever illness there was. And her concern is that she was informed that she would have to repeat the entire step over again. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. In
Okay.
the agreement, it says that if she misses a visit for any reason, she would have to start over on that step.
Okay, so illness is not a consideration as far as protection of the children?
That's the way the MSA reads, is that
Okay.
if she misses a visit for any reason, she would have to start over on that step.
Okay, that's the witness.
All right, Ms. Lucero.
Ms. Ashley, as far as that step-up visitation, I know it didn't clarify, that if someone's sick, but it does, the language, and I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but I have reviewed it. It doesn't say if they miss it for any reason, does it?
I can get it out. I have it right here.
Okay, thank you. Would you please?
Okay, it's in E. If the father or the mother fails to timely and fully exercise a period of possession in steps 1 through 4 above, or if either violates either of the permanent injunctions in the previous two subsections above, the father and mother will repeat that step of the possession order again from the beginning. So no, it does not say specifically for any reason, but it says if they miss any time, they would have to start over.
Okay, and what step are they on right now?
Right now, they are on step 3.
Okay. And the steps are 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then move into standard possession. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there cannot be, is it your testimony that the department at this point, even though they've made it to step 3 and they've done well, that y'all can't grant any grace and let them just continue due to sickness? It wasn't that they refused.
I believe it's our position that she hasn't necessarily done well because we do have safety concerns for the children.
Okay. Now, as far as the driving situation, y'all have addressed that with the mother and Mr. Contreras, correct?
Yes.
And there have not, and if it's my understanding that there haven't been any new reports that she's violated, driving with the kids anymore. Isn't that correct?
That is correct, but she does still have the warrants out for her arrest.
Okay, and I understand that, but she's not out driving. That's my question. She hasn't been driving again with the children. Is that correct? As far as you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And as far as also the concerns with the children, you mentioned, it was briefly mentioned that Mr. Contreras had, had a positive test for alcohol use. Is that correct?
Yes, on June 27th.
Okay. But the day that they took that sample, it wasn't 12 hours before his visits with the kids. Isn't that correct?
Correct, but that's just for the MSA. That is not the requirements for the department having TMC.
Okay, but nowhere, and that could have been where we dropped the ball, but nowhere in, as far as the MSA, and that's what we're following right now, as far as possession and things like that, the MSA says that he cannot have alcohol within 12 hours of possession of the kids or during his possession of the kids, correct?
Correct, but the way that the MSA is set up, there's no way for me to test him 12 hours before or after a visitation.
And again, maybe we dropped the ball when we drafted that. But as far as the MSA, he did not, you don't have any proof that he tested positive for alcohol 12 hours before he saw the children. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, have you been able to meet with Mr. Contreras and explain to him that even though the MSA is in place and that's the language, that he cannot be drinking alcohol at all while the department is involved?
Yes.
Okay. And have we had any more issues in that regard?
I sent them on Monday and I have not received those results yet.
Okay. All right. And then, and as far as the son, is it Mr. Contreras' oldest son? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And again, y'all have talked with Mr. Contreras and his wife that, again, reiterated that he cannot be in the home again while the kids are there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And did they advise you that they would follow that?
Kimberly stated that she was trying to follow that order, but that it was pressed upon her that it'd be allowed to occur anyway.
Okay. All right. And and just for your knowledge, I have addressed that with Mr. Contreras and clarified that for him. I know, has Mr. Contreras advised you that the son does visit at times when the children are not there?
It's fine for him to visit. We just do not allow the overnight stay.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure I'll clarify that with him. Okay. And besides the issue with the alcohol testing and the mom's driver's license and the son, are there any other concerns that haven't been brought to our attention today?
I would like to refer to my supervisor for that question, if that's possible.
Okay, that's fine. I'll pass the witness.
All right.
Judge, I got one follow-up from Mr. Ashley real quick.
Yeah, and I want to clarify something. So is it St. Francis Department's position that the son can be there, just can't spend the night?
Correct. He's a sibling. We don't want to cut off contact. We're just not able to do background checks. So we're not allowing overnight visits or an unsupervised visit with someone that we can't do a background check on.
Okay. So in other words, he couldn't be left to care for the younger children.
Correct.
Okay.
And Judge, that was going to be mine. Ms. Ashley, he can be there to visit when the children are there. He can't stay overnight.
Correct.
Okay, all right. That's what I was going to clarify to Your Honor.
Okay,
And again, Your Honor, most of all these, as Ms. Lucero just pointed out, they have been addressed with parents. It's just been kind of a stair step of a few things happening. We don't want to get in a position where everybody's completely adverse at this point, due to trying to wrap this case up. We just want in front of the court just to make sure and clarify that everybody's on the same page at this time so that things don't keep happening.
okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Michelson, you have any other questions for this witness?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, and Ms. Lucero?
No, not for this witness, Your Honor. No, thank you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Kirksey, let me swear you in real quickly so that maybe you can address what Ms. Ashley has referred to you. So you promise to tell the truth today?
I do.
Okay. All right, Mr. Stroud, if you want to go ahead and ask her some questions.
Are there any steps or concerns that the department has or St. Francis has at this time that have not been addressed, Ms. Kirksey?
I believe Christy hit the main parts of it. I would just really like to reiterate that our concern is that, we have this visitation, these steps. These rules were made completely clear to her before she broke the agreements, the safety rules. She knew what she was allowed to do. She knew what she wasn't allowed to do, and she did them anyways. And this is while the department is still involved. Our biggest concern is that these children are going to be placed with their relative. We want to make sure that this is going to be a placement that can continue to grow with the kids, continue to help the kids, continue to support the children. At this point, I do not want to set them up for failure with, continued issues going on with mom, and then they have to turn around and then the placement has to deal with the trauma that's getting handed down to them. At the end of the day, she knew what was going on. She made the decisions, and saying that there haven't been any continuous ones. I mean, she broke the rules while we were involved, and she knew what she was doing whenever she did it. My biggest concern with it, and I also would like to touch base on all of this stuff and say, she gets arrested, she gets pulled over driving the kids, all of the trauma that's going to happen is going to directly affect the child's placement. I don't want to get out of this case and ask them to be protective, but not give them the tools to do so. These are serious concerns and things that can still happen and continue to happen. At this point, she hasn't followed the rules. At this point, supervised visitation or unsupervised visitation hasn't been going good. We have these concerns. I really want us to consider the child's safety in all of this stuff. I know that we have a mediated agreement. I just don't want to overlook the position that we're not only putting the children in, but the position we're putting the family unit in as a whole.
And at this time, you understand parties are bound by the MSA. Parents knew the rules. Department still expects parents to follow along with the rules as a normal TMC case also, correct?
Absolutely.
And is that what you're asking the court today to impress upon the parents?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Michelson, do you have any questions?
Just briefly, Ms. Kirksey, the way you characterized the visitation steps, do you characterize missing a visit because of illness or concern for exposing children to illness as violating the rules?
Ultimately, that mediated agreement is something that we have to go by and follow. I think it would be, following those, it's pretty much a court order. We have to go by what it says. So yes, I would.
Notwithstanding the other issues, isn't that an exceptionally harsh position to take?
It is, but it's something that we have to follow if it's in that mediated agreement.
Okay, pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Lucero.
I just have one question, and if I'm permitted to ask it, hypothetically, ma'am, if Miss Contreras had COVID and the kids all came over and had COVID and took COVID back to the family that they're living with, do you think that'd be good?
I don't think it would be good, no.
Okay, but if that was the situation, they would still have to start step 3 according to your testimony. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Well, I'll just simplify it all. Still my case, still my rules. So even in light of the MSA, you know, I mean, mediated settlement agreements, you know, often don't cover all the minutia of everything that can happen. I'm not going to turn the clock backwards on the parents, but so we're going to move forward with the step-up visitation. But let me be very, very clear. There'll be no drinking. There'll be no drugging. There'll be no unapproved persons in the home overnight or caring for the children. There'll be no driving unless you have a valid driver's license. There'll be no co-sleeping. In other words, we're going to operate under the same rules that we've been operating on under for the duration of this case until a final order is entered. Because MSA or no MSA, you know, if the case is, I mean, the case is still pending, and you know, I haven't had to look at this in a while, but you know, if it comes to the health and safety of children, I think I have the authority to disregard the MSA if I believe that there is a real question about danger or the health and safety and the well-being of the children. Okay, so don't want to do that, don't want to go there. You know, we've come too far with this deal, but just, you know, you're still subject to random drug testing and alcohol screening. You're still subject to all the same rules that we've had all along. So I'm not going to penalize you all because, you know, maybe the MSA didn't get drafted with the detail that maybe it needed to be. I mean, I certainly find that illness would be a valid reason for parents to have missed a step of this. So I'm not going to penalize y'all for that. They're just, you know, it's just very difficult to draft everything, you know, globally into a mediated settlement agreement. It's why court orders are, you know, 56 pages long anymore, because, you know, it's taken years and years of revision of those things and years of anticipating and trying to, you know, have every possible scenario covered, you know, in visitation orders and things like that. So, you know, I think everybody's very clear now what we, you know, what we are guided by. And so y'all just stick with the program until we can, you know, get this PCA stuff done, and then we can finalize everything. And then it really will be up to you and placement and that agreement. So, okay. So everything will continue as it is under the rules that we've been working under for the entirety of this case. Okay. And for the record, that was Ms. Zavala's recommendation as well. So,
Your Honor, if I can please have Lauren explain that to my husband, please.
yeah, I'll tell you what, I've got to start another hearing. Ms. Lucero, can I just put you in a breakout room with them?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Michelson, do you want to go in there with them?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And Your Honor, can I, well, maybe I'll get in touch with the attorneys. I got something else to discuss with them outside of this, but it'll be too much moving around. I'll just catch up with them later.
Okay. All right. So let me get y'all, I'm going to put y'all to room 2.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right. I appreciate everybody. Thank y'all. And let's see this to a conclusion.
And Judge, would you put myself and my clients in a breakout room also?
You can go back to 1.
Okay. And Judge, I believe that was my last hearing today. Once I'm through, may I exit from the breakout room?
No, you have to come back and suffer with the rest of us.
Okay, I'll come back in.
Daniel, I'll be around the rest of the day if you want to give me a call.
Okay, I will.
Okay,
I appreciate
right.
it much.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Judge. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
I think that's a tall order.
I hear you.
All right. Thanks. Sanchez, we're here today on a request for court-ordered services. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. Ms. Galvan is making our record for us, and we are live streaming on our YouTube channel. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Your Honor, before we do that, is it possible I could have just a moment with Mr. Harwood in a breakout room? Should be
Yeah,
brief.
let's go ahead and take announcements, and then I'll set you guys up and put you in a room.
Okay, great. Eugene Graff on behalf of the department, present and ready to proceed, Your Honor.
George Harwood, appearing on behalf of Alina Sanchez, and she's with me, and we're ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Brianna Gomez, as the attorney ad litem, and we're ready.
All right, thank y'all. Okay, so Mr. Groff, you want Mr. Harwood, I guess he can ask his client to step out, and then do you also want the ad litem?
That's fine.
Okay.
Do you want my client not to be present, Mr. Graff?
I have no objection. I mean, it's just a continuation of the conversation you and I had yesterday. I just have some updated information for you, counsel.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll put y'all to room 1.
Ms. Zuniga, I just wanted to let you know Mr. Harwood is talking with his client about what we talked about via email this morning. So,
okay, we'll just wait for them.
great. Thank you. Judge Baker, if it's possible for me to go into a breakout room with Ms. Zuniga or Ms. Larson, we're in the middle of a settlement discussion that's bearing fruit. There's one detail that is being requested that I don't have the answer to, and I need to speak with my client about.
Sure. I'll put you in room 2, and I'll move. Let's see. You need Ms. Zuniga.
Ms. Zuniga and Ms. Larson, either or both. It's fine. It's just a question about a provider that counsel is inquiring about, and I just don't know the answer.
Yeah, that's fine. Y'all can go into room 2.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Groff, do you need to go back in and talk with Mr. Harwood?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you for the court's patience, Judge Baker. I think we have an agreement that we'd like to put on the record. And then I know there's a question about when the first compliance hearing would be, and I think counsel and his client would like to know that before we put the hearing on the record, if that's possible.
The first compliance hearing we have tentatively scheduled for October 15th.
Okay, so that's about 60 days out, approximately. Okay. Okay. Well, we negotiated over the proposed service plan, and we made a couple of changes to it. Specifically, instead of domestic violence victim support group, Ms. Sanchez would like to address those issues through individual counseling, and the department is agreeable to that. The plan would be for mom to meet with FBSS hopefully this week and select her provider from that list and then go forward. And then the other issue is she is willing to do UAs, but would like to review that at the first compliance hearing, assuming they're all clean going forward. We don't have an objection to that.
Okay.
And then everything else that's on that list, I don't know if the court would prefer a recitation, but everything else that was in the proposed in the petition, I believe is agreed to, unless counsel corrects me if I've mistaken something or missed something.
Mr. Harwood, is that your agreement that we're changing up the domestic violence through counseling and then the other services as were delineated?
Okay, Judge, we'd like to put all the things that we're agreeing to on the record. And if possible, I don't know if the court has time, but we would like an earlier compliance hearing than October the 15th. We'd like to have it sometime possibly in September, if that would be agreeable to the court and to the department. But and the reason is we're in some litigation regarding her oldest child, and we'd like to wrap this up as quickly as we can. And we feel like if we could have a compliance hearing in September, that we could move forward to that and get this over with so she can work on the litigation regarding her oldest child.
I'm perfectly fine with that, Mr. Harwood. I'll ask Miss Katie to start looking for a date. She's already done that. September 24th at 9.
That'd be super. September 24th at 9 would be super, Judge.
Yeah. I mean, if she's done well and gotten through everything. I'm great with early dismissals, always.
Okay, and if it'd be okay, I can just go through this list that we had that the department wanted, that we think we've agreed to, and put that on the record, and I think we're done as far as day goes.
That'd be great.
Okay, she's willing to provide information to the department of any change of address, phone number, or employment. She is agreeable to maintaining regular contact with her caseworker and regarding participation in services. She will sign a release for any medical information that might be necessary. She will give notice of 24 hours if she's not able to make a scheduled appointment. She will maintain stable housing, and I don't think that's an issue, but she will maintain stable housing and utilities and make sure that the house is fixed so there's no risk or danger to the two children that are there. She will unannounced and announced visits will be allowed to her home. She will maintain stable employment. She has her own business. She's not going to be working for somebody, but we'll provide proof of that, that hopefully that will satisfy the department. She'll complete the OSAR assessment as soon as possible. She will maintain a drug-free lifestyle, and there will not be any drugs used that are not prescribed in the home. And she will take any random drug test that's requested by the department. She'll agree that random drug testing will be taken through Care Express at 7306 Southwest 34th. She's not going to be involved in the selling or distributing of any illegal drugs, including ecstasy, in her home, in her vehicle, or around the children. She will participate with family-based services and select a counselor and begin a course of counseling with that person. And she'll complete a rational behavior therapy class. And I believe that's it.
Okay. Mr. Graff, does that sound like what you have on your list?
It does, because we did agree to drop the DV support group. We didn't discuss the last item on the list, which isn't really a service, but she did, the department is requesting that while the criminal case regarding Mr. Chavez is pending, that she would not allow contacts with him and her children. And honestly, we didn't really discuss that issue. So I do know that.
Yeah, we can agree to that.
Okay.
He's not in the home. He's living with his mother.
That's what I understand.
She places her children above any relationship with him. And until his legal issues are resolved regarding this alleged domestic violence and the bond condition is in place, the children will not be around him, and he won't be in the home with her.
Well, with that, then I think we have an agreement, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds great. All right, then, I will approve the agreement as announced, and we'll order those services as Mr. Harwood has read into the record, and as agreed to by Mr. Groff. The one big exception being that the domestic violence support group will be handled through individual counseling, which I'm perfectly fine with. And I will see you all back for a compliance hearing on September 24th of 2024. And let's see, Miss Katie, will that be on a 9 o'clock docket?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right. 9 o'clock docket. It'll be sometime on the morning docket. I can't tell you exactly when. Those dockets will go out about a week ahead of time. But you'll get the Zoom invite, but the actual docket will list what time slots you'll have that day.
Okay. Now,
okay. Ms. Sanchez, thank you for working with us, and I wish you great success in this, and hopefully we'll be in and out of your lives in a very big hurry.
Thank you.
will we hear from somebody with the department today regarding the family-based services?
Ms. Zuniga was
George?
shaking her head.
Yeah, Katie's going to reach out to you. She's going to need to see the kids so we can open up our stage to make the referral.
Okay.
But we can get that all done today.
So the oldest little girl is in Lubbock visiting with a cousin. She should be back tomorrow or Monday or when?
Monday.
She'll be back Monday, but she's out of town with a cousin in Lubbock until Monday. But the little child is there, but the 5-year-old is out of town.
Okay. Katie will reach out to you and we can make adjustments to get that done.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Thank you all.
Everybody's free to go in the Sanchez matter. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harwood.
Thank you. Thank you, Brianna.
Okay, I'll start letting everybody in. Wish we could have the same result in this one.
Miracles do happen, Your Honor.
We'll see. Okay, good morning or good afternoon. Well, almost. It's still good morning. Dangerously close to good afternoon. Thank y'all for your patience. Before I call the case or get started, did anybody need a breakout room?
Judge, I would probably benefit from one to speak to Ms. Patino, please.
Okay. We are here set for an adversary hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are also live streaming, and Ms. Galvan is making our record. All right, we'll take announcements.
Your Honor, Jeff Hill standing in for Natalie Archer, who represents Priscilla Patino. And Judge, I think you've been made aware, but in case not, Ms. Patino wishes to represent herself. Ms. Archer yesterday filed a motion to withdraw. I did discuss that motion with Ms. Patino this morning in the breakout room. She still wants to move forward representing herself and wants Ms. Archer to withdraw. So just so the court knows what's going on.
Okay, we'll take that up here in just a minute.
Eugene Graff and Cassandra Vasquez present and ready to proceed on behalf of the department, Your Honor.
Vince Noack on behalf of the child, present and ready, Judge.
Okay, and Mr. Florentino is not present. And let me just ask, what is the status of service on Mr. Florentino?
I'm not sure that he's been able to be served, Your Honor. I know that Ms. Vasquez has had almost no contact except for a phone call yesterday, if I have my facts correct.
I haven't spoken with him at all. I received a text today saying hello, but I didn't get a response from him.
I know that an effort was made to serve him where he was served for the order to participate case, but and I think it's in the affidavit, the information was that he's no longer at that address.
Do we believe that he's resides in this area, or what do we know?
I'll defer to my client. I believe he's in the area, or we have reason to believe he's in the area, but beyond that, I don't have any further information.
Yeah, we believe that he's here. It's just and he's aware, from my understanding, I've spoken with his mom and other people that have said he's aware of our involvement. He just hasn't responded.
Has he been provided any paperwork, for instance, in particular, to request a court-appointed attorney?
No, I haven't had any luck with communicating with him whatsoever. I do believe that the coordinator for the kinship meeting had a conversation with him as far as placement request, and he said he would like his mom to be reviewed, but other than that, nothing else.
All right. Have we checked on social media to see if he's active on social media?
I reached out to one social media account, but I didn't receive a response.
Did it appear to be an active account? Could you tell anything about it?
I couldn't see anything additional. It was like a private account.
Okay. Ms. Patino, if you can unmute for me.
Yes.
Do you have any contact with him?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
He's blocked on all social medias. He's blocked on phone numbers. I have zero contact with him.
Okay. All right. And you don't have any contact information for him?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Ms. Patino, has he had any involvement with the child?
No. I do have a protective order application already filed with the court I have a protective order for me and Maya against Santiago Florentino, which is in it's in motion, like I filed it. So I basically, this CPS case is stopping the judge to file and sign off on it. So basically, once I get this taken care of, and how this goes, all he said is I have to just go file another one and he will grant it.
Okay, well, I don't have the ability to render that kind of order without having service on him, so we couldn't, I mean, it would be feasible for me potentially to enter a protective order in this case, but we haven't gotten him served yet, so I couldn't do that at this point in time. Doesn't mean that I can't down the road if this case proceeds, so, okay.
And Your Honor, I just got an email from Mr. Trout indicating a little additional information from what the mother just mentioned. He had gotten reached out. The judge had reached out and he had let the judge know it was being handled in-house and it was a CPS case. And they said that they denied it in order to let the protection be handled through the CPS court. So I don't know that adds anything more, just a little more clarity to what mother was saying.
Yeah.
So
I went to the judge this morning, and he did say, it was denied because of the CPS case. So basically, whatever happens in this, because honestly, ma'am, I put in a request and I just filed it with the courts today. I filed a request to reinstate my parental rights.
Okay. And let me just address that, Ms. Patino. Your rights haven't been terminated. So there's no purpose in a reinstatement petition because your rights have to be terminated first, and we're a long way down the road from that.
Okay. So, yes, ma'am.
So that's kind of a good example why I think we might as well address this, Ms. Archer's motion to withdraw. I understand that that's at your request and that you want to represent yourself, but this is a classic example of why it's kind of dangerous for you to represent yourself. To my knowledge, you are not a licensed attorney. You've not been to law school. You haven't spent the years that some of these other folks here with us today have spent perfecting and honing their skills at evidence, procedure, all of those things. And if you proceed and if you insist on proceeding without an attorney, I will just tell you that you're held to the very same standard as these lawyers when you represent yourself. In other words, the same rules of evidence apply to you, same rules of procedure apply to you, and your lack of knowledge about those things doesn't get you any special treatment or doesn't cut you any breaks with the court. I can't do that. And so it, when you were talking about your children, I would certainly think, you've qualified for a court appointed a lawyer. I would certainly think you would want the benefit of, seasoned counsel that handles these kinds of cases and knows those rules of procedure and knows those rules of evidence, when to object, when you don't object. The other thing is that there's not really anybody for you to discuss your case with. If you don't have a lawyer, you can't, I will just tell you, you can't talk to me about your case. Hang on. You can't talk to me about your case directly. The only time you and I can talk is when everybody's here. I can't answer your questions. I can't give you legal advice, nor can my court coordinator. And so, you can't email her asking things about your case because she's not permitted to discuss anything substantive about your case. She would send you the docket. She'll send you the same information she sends every other lawyer in the case and every other party, but that's it. So you're going to be flying solo if you do that.
So so just to get this out there, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just to be sure and just to clarify everything. So the court appointed attorney that I had, she's not even, I have tried to speak with her. She does not speak with me. She doesn't try to hear me. She doesn't necessarily, she's not even in court right now. A whole other guy is. And I've tried to contact both of them. I even left a message for this guy that's subbing in. I've contacted him, left a voicemail before the hearing, and he has not returned any of my phone calls. Miss Archer doesn't even return any of my phone calls. I'm basically trying to speak with them about my case, and I'm getting nothing in return. So how I feel and what I feel like is necessary is basically I want to represent myself because that's basically what's happening already anyways. Even though they're there to represent me, they're not hearing my case out. They're not doing anything for me. So what I felt like is if I'm by myself anyways, so what I feel like is if I should try and do this by myself, I know they're licensed and everything, and I'm not licensed, but this is my child, and I'm trying to reach out to these people who are supposed to help me, but they're not listening. And one's even out of town. She's not even in town.
Yeah.
And the sub, like I said, and
So
the
Ms.
sub,
Patino,
I mean,
Ms. Archer had given this court and on all the courts she practices in, she had given a vacation notice. You know, attorneys, believe it or not, even attorneys are entitled to take a vacation once every 10 years, you know. And so, because in private practice, that's about how often they get to take them. So we knew that, and we knew that. We consulted with her, and she said that she would make arrangements to have someone cover this for her. This happens all the time, and this is a very common practice. I will just tell you that. So she is she is out of town, and she is on her vacation, and I wouldn't expect her to be returning calls on her vacation, even though that often happens too when you're a lawyer. But Mr. Hill is a very qualified attorney. He's in this court all the time. Mr. Hill's been licensed, I don't know how many years. He's a very competent attorney, and you know.
But I reached out to him, and he doesn't return my phone call. So what? I mean, I hear what they're saying, and I understand everything that you're saying, but I'm reaching out to get the counsel that I need, and they're not returning my phone calls.
Well, okay, let's just talk about this. All right. What if we reset your hearing to one day next week? That will give you the opportunity to speak with Mr. Hill, and be prepared for this proceeding. It also give us time to possibly find out more about Mr. Florentino and potentially get him served. If he's served, then I could also hear your request for a protective order at that time. So there's some benefit in all of that.
Right.
So
basically, okay, so can I ask you just a quick question?
If I can answer it.
Okay, so say we proceed with this hearing and all the documents that I just filed with the courts today, are you able to see those documents?
If they're introduced properly into evidence.
Yes, they are definitely filed with the court.
Filing them doesn't mean that the filing doesn't necessarily mean they get admitted into evidence. This is one of these areas where I'm saying you really probably want an attorney. So,
okay.
Mr. Hill, let me just, I don't know what Ms. Archer's schedule is. I don't know when she's returning, but Mr. Hill, would you have time to speak with Ms. Patino sometime between now and when we reset this next week so that she's had full advice of counsel?
Yes, Judge, I can. I would like to respond to some of what she said. She did leave me a voicemail yesterday at 3:14 p.m. I was out of the office. I did not get it till today. I did not have time to call her back today. I did have discussions with Ms. Archer, and Ms. Archer told me she has had numerous phone calls, lengthy phone calls with Ms. Patino to try and discuss this case, and Ms. Patino just does not want to hear what Ms. Archer has to say. So I think it's important that the court knows that. And I don't know when Ms. Archer's coming back from vacation, but I'd be happy to set this for next week when I'm available. And then obviously if Ms. Archer's back, which I think she's going to be back next week, then she can go ahead and resume her duties and do the hearing.
I would just rather.
Ms. Patino, hang on. Just hang on. You can't interrupt because the court reporter can't take two people at once. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll give you your turn, but let Mr. Hill finish, please.
I'm good, Judge. That's all I've got.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, if we reschedule for next week, you could potentially meet with her to be sure that she's prepared for this hearing before Ms. Archer returns, and then if Ms. Archer gets back in time, then she will at least have had the benefit of legal advice and all of that. So now, Ms. Patino, so it sounds to me like you've been talking to your lawyer.
Okay, but she don't listen to, she goes based off of her experience with other cases. And she basically, that was her statement, experience with other cases, that what I'm trying to get done is what I'm trying to do. I don't want you to tell me anything about what you and she have talked about. That's attorney-client privilege. So I don't want you to tell me what you've talked about. But am I correct that you have had conversations with her? I have had conversations with her,
Okay.
yes.
Well, that's not exactly what you told me earlier.
I'm going, well, basically, I try to talk to her and she does not. She goes based off her experience with other cases. She's not even willing to open up this case and realize that it's a different case. She's going based off her experience, and she will not do as I asked her to do because of her experience with other cases. But this is a whole new case. And I understand that what I'm asking for is not ever done, or basically it can't, but it can be done. It's just not ever done with the courts, but she won't even look into it because like she said, with her experience. So I would rather just legally represent myself as of today. And that, because I mean, the way they're going about it is that I don't want to hear what they have to say, but what I'm trying to do is not ever done, but it is doable.
Okay, so here's what I would like to do. Mr. Hill, are you willing to take Ms. Patino on if I allow Ms. Archer to withdraw?
Judge, I'll respectfully decline on that. I in my conversation with her this morning, the representation she's made to the court, I really just don't wish to represent her.
All right, so what I'm going to do, Ms. Patino, I'm going to give you one bite at this apple, and I will just tell you that. I'm going to appoint another attorney to represent you. We're going to reset this. Miss Katie has tossed out August 1st, so Mr. Hill, you don't need to worry about your calendar. To reset this August 1st on the 9 o'clock docket.
Okay, my daughter though, okay, so where my daughter is placed right now, I have had a Zoom meeting with her, a Zoom virtual meeting with her, and she basically, okay, so she could basically be in daycare preschool Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then I also have the stable home for her.
Okay,
I also
okay, Ms. Patino, we're not going to go into all that today. That's what we'll do at our hearing. So, Ms. Patino, don't argue with me.
Yes,
because you're not going to win. Okay, you're not going to win that argument.
Okay,
so
but
Ms. Patino, stop interrupting. We're going to reset the case to August 1st on the 9 o'clock docket. The child's placement will remain where the child is right now. I'm going to appoint a new attorney for you. Ms. Katie has your email. She's going to email you that contact information here in just a very short amount of time. Okay, so you don't need to speak with Ms. Archer again. You don't need to speak with Mr. Hill again, but you do need to speak with whoever I appoint to represent you. I will not entertain another motion to substitute attorneys. This is it. You get one. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. So I'm going to give you a piece of advice, and that is listen to your attorney. They do this kind of work. They know what they're doing. And that's their job, is to give you the best advice that they can give you. And yes, some of that is based on their experience. A lot of it's based on their experience. And trust me, you want that experience. So, everybody else good? Mr. Nowak, are you good for that date and time?
That'll work just fine, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Groff, are you good with that?
We're good, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then I will see you back on August 1st. You'll get that docket. Your attorney will also get it, and it'll tell you a time, a specific time. The docket will start at 9. Your case may not be heard until, say, 11 o'clock. I can't tell you that yet because the docket hasn't gone out, but it will. Okay. Mr. Groff, if y'all will use best efforts to try to get Mr. Florentino served, if at all possible, so that if there is a request made by Ms. Patino's attorney to entertain a protective order, we can take a look at that as well.
We'll do our best, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And everybody is free to go. I'll see some of you back then on the 1st.
Judge, real quick, Cassandra, don't zoom off just yet. While I've got Cassandra on screen, I don't know what the court schedule is, but would it be okay for me to talk to Cassandra for just a few minutes in a breakout room?
Yeah, I can do that for I can put you in.
2 minutes.
I'm going to have to log into a different Zoom, but not until 12:30. So
Can I get like a thing with you that you judge? Can I get
no, ma'am.
It's with you?
The only way you and I can talk is when everyone is present. I can't talk to any of these other people by themselves unless everybody's around. So that's just the rule. So no, I cannot speak directly with you. And nor can the coordinator, Ms. Patino. She's just an extension of me, and she cannot discuss the case with you. She can give you docket hearing times and that kind of information, and that's it. That's why you need a lawyer. Okay. I'll see everybody back on first. Mr. Nowak, I'll get you put into a breakout room
Thank you,
with
Judge.
Ms.
Judge, I
Voss.
appreciate
Okay?
that.
We are here today on our status hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Galvan's making a record for us today. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Your Honor, good morning. Gene Graff, Madison Carthel, and Michaela Kirksey on behalf of St. Francis and the state of Texas, present and ready to proceed.
Jerry Morales on behalf of respondent father, Your Honor. He is still incarcerated at that Park County Detention Center.
Okay, Mr. Nowak, if you
Sorry.
announced you were muted and I didn't get you. Or Ms. Riley.
Tracy Riley appearing for Priscilla Patino, the mother.
Okay.
And she's present and ready to proceed.
Okay. All right, Mr. Nowak, your screen looked frozen for a few minutes there, and you're muted, so I'm not sure he can hear us.
I can't hear y'all.
Can you hear us at all?
Jax, do you know how to work this thing?
I'm gonna try to remove him and so see if he'll just log back in.
Vince Nowak, I have the child. Sorry, Judge.
No problem. I booted you out so you could log back in. Sorry.
It was an audio setting was all the way on 0, which I don't touch this stuff. So.
No problem. All right, then we'll get an update where we stand. We're here on the status hearing.
And Your Honor, would Your Honor prefer discussion or testimony? I'm prepared either way.
I'd like to just get an update from the caseworker and.
Okay. And Ms. Carthel can let the court know, I know the court was particularly interested in the placement, and I think all the parties are interested in the placement recommendations and where that stands. So I have Ms. Carthel and Ms. Kirksey who can weigh in on that, starting with Ms. Carthel, please.
Good morning. I did an amended status report, and so nothing has changed since the amended report. Did you want me to go over specifically what we added to the amended report?
Yes, please.
Okay. We are asking, so there was a discharge put on Maya by placement, and so they're asking for her to be discharged. So we have completed the home study on paternal grandmother and hoping for that to be approved this week. It's just in the hands of our director, and once that is approved, we are hoping to move Maya to Marcia Walker.
Okay, do we think it's going to be approved, or do we have any problems with it, or?
Yes, ma'am, we believe it's going to be approved. There were no issues with the home study.
Okay, very good.
And if you could also, for the record, detail the efforts you made to do the expedited home study on the maternal uncle, as was ordered at the last hearing as well, please.
Sure. So we did it's called a kinship finders meeting with Robert and Priscilla and some of the other DFPS members to have a meeting with him. After that meeting, I called him and tried to get information. He didn't answer the phone. He called me back the next day. I've had a hard time getting information from him. He doesn't have a driver's license. I finally got it. It took a while. It's been submitted. However, we are not going to be able to approve that because of a family assault charge that he has on his record, and he is not cooperating with the department on who that assault charge was against. He doesn't speak with the department regularly. He's very hard to get a hold of, and so for those reasons, we are not going to be able to approve a home study for him.
And did he also raise an issue regarding his ability to maintain boundaries with a placement?
Yes, sir. Robert stated to me that he would not be able to keep Priscilla away from Maya, and he wasn't able to control her.
Okay, thank you. And Your Honor, I know Ms. Kirksey can also talk about some of the policy complications that are created by this situation that are leading St. Francis to be unable to complete the home study on the uncle. And Ms. Kirksey, if you can just relay that to the court briefly, please.
Absolutely. So his charges, his criminal background wouldn't absolutely bar an approved home study, but with those charges, it would require a kinship safety evaluation. With him being unwilling to provide details about the incident and his criminal history, which he won't speak to Madison about, we are unable to complete a kinship safety evaluation to be able to approve that home study. But since it was court ordered, we did submit it once we finally got enough information from him to even be able to throw in the documents.
Thank you.
All right, but if we think that that grandmother's home study will be approved, then at least we've got family and we can place with family. Is this maternal grandmother or paternal grandmother?
Paternal grandmother.
Paternal?
Paternal. And I will note for the record, also since our last court hearing, it was discovered that there was in fact a paternity affidavit that had been signed. I believe that's been filed in the court file. So from our perspective, he is in fact the father and she is in fact the paternal grandmother, with whom the child has a relationship and is bonded. So that also forms the basis of St. Francis's recommendation at this time.
All right, so he did sign the acknowledgement. I'm just looking at that.
We put the paternity testing on hold pending this hearing. We can still go forward with that if the court wishes us to. But when we put in the request, what we got back was, hey, we've got this affidavit. Do you still want us to do paternity testing? I believe this was a week or so ago. And we said, well, we have this hearing pending. We'll raise it with your honor first, and then we'll go from there.
Well, has anybody questioned has anybody questioned that at this point in time?
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ms. Riley, is your client questioning or disputing or anything on that?
No, I don't believe so. I believe that's fine as far as paternity.
Okay. All right. Well, all right then. And Mr. Morales, any concern there?
No, Your Honor, I'll go over it with them again after today just to make sure that, I don't think at the status, we went over that in detail a lot in our previous conversation, but I'll make sure to talk to them.
All right. I'll give you opportunity to visit with him before I just adjudicate, but I want to take that up at the next hearing.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the department then? How are we? Have we made any progress in service plans?
Minimal at best at this point. I think Ms. Cartel documented in the progress report, referrals have been made. But thus far, I don't know that there's been much, if any, substantive compliance at this point. She can confirm that for me if she wouldn't mind.
Well, I saw that mom did not drug test for us in August. Did we have requested her to do so again?
I did drug test in August.
Okay, maybe something has not been updated, but Ms. Carthel?
No, I did.
Okay, my question is for Ms. Carthel, Ms. Patino.
I sent her to drug test in August. That's random. And so I had just texted her on the morning to go drug test. And she told me that she was in Fort Worth. That was what was documented in the court report where the whole thing with Fort Worth went down. So she did drug test the next day. It wasn't until like 2 p.m. And so that was considered a presumed positive. That's in the report. So she did test. It wasn't on the day that I sent her.
Okay. Did we get the results of it back?
Yes, ma'am, we did. And that was fine. It was negative.
Okay. Was it a UA or hair?
It was UA.
All right. Okay, anything else from St. Francis?
I don't believe so, unless Ms. Carthel or Ms. Kirksey have anything additional.
Okay. All right, Ms. Riley?
Sorry, I had to work on unmuting there. Judge, I think there's a disagreement as to the progress on services. I don't think I got an amended progress report. And I'm going to apologize to the court. I did not get notice of today's hearing, so I'm here, but I'm a little bit trying to catch up just because I didn't know that it was today. I think for some reason they accidentally sent it to Ms. Patino's former attorney instead of to me. But in talking to Ms. Patino, I think there's a disagreement between the department and her as to where she's at with her services. She, for example, I believe the last report that I read said that she had not done a psychological with Jennings and Associates. Ms. Patino, I made the appointment with her, and Ms. Patino has told me that she has done the psychological and that she's had 2 further meetings with Stephen Jennings. She has informed me that she has her OSAR appointment and that she called to try to get the OSAR appointment diligently for weeks and weeks and weeks and just could not get them to even answer. In addition to that, I believe as far as a driver's license is concerned, she has her driver's license to get the OSAR appointment diligently for weeks and weeks and weeks and just could not get them to even answer. In addition to that, I believe as far as a driver's license is concerned, she has her driver's license now. Her driver's license was not suspended. She just did not have insurance, but she now has insurance and has a valid driver's license. She has a vehicle. She informs me that as far as a home study, that she has provided information to the either the department or St. Francis about where she lives, and that in fact they were going to come see her home, and then for some reason that did not happen. She also has informed me that She had an appointment yesterday to start her wave classes. But for some reason, although they were supposed to start on a Monday, they didn't factor in the fact that this Monday was Labor Day. And so the woman she was supposed to meet with was not present. And then finally, I believe she's scheduled for the October meeting date for the parents of sexual assault children with Troy Timmons. I can't remember the name of the class. I'm sorry. But so those are just some of the highlights. And so I'm not, I'm not sure what the difference is, or whether or not there's different proof that Ms. Patino needs to provide. I know she was very frustrated with the drug test in August because she was out of town. And we've since talked about that and said that if she'll let Ms. Carthel know in advance if she's going out of town, then that would be a better option. But I think she provided me with plane tickets that she actually attempted to fly back that day so that she could test by the end of the day. She got on a 2 p.m. flight, but it was delayed 2 hours. And so she didn't make it back in time to test that day. And so we understand that it is presumed positive by the department, but she did indeed go test the next day and tested negative.
Okay. Yeah, the easiest fix is to do exactly what Ms. Riley said, is if you're going to be out of town, you need to let them know that. So that's the easy way out on that. Okay, well, I mean, it sounds like she's initiated services, and so then as Ms. Patino, as you get those things completed, just be sure you give your certificate of completion to Ms. Carthel, and then she'll update her checklist and make sure that you know exactly where you stand with your service plan.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms.
As far as
Morales?
placement, I'm sorry, Judge, one last thing. As far as placement of the child, Ms. Patino obviously preferred that the placement be with her brother, Robert Patino. She understands that he did not clear the home study, and does understand that the child's paternal grandmother does have a relationship with the child. But Ms. Patino just wants to stress to make sure that the department has expressed that should the father get out of jail, that there's too many people, that the grandmother is able to make sure that the father does not have any unsupervised contact with him, especially because Ms. Patino had brought the child in for a bridge as well as a SANE exam based on some sexual assault allegations. And so I think she just wanted to reiterate and make sure that he does not have any unsupervised contact and that the mother's able to do that, and to make sure that her parole officer does not have any objection to her having this child with her.
Yeah, I can let the court know that that's been a topic of conversation within House when this placement change was discussed. So I know that the grandmother has made adequate assurances that satisfy St. Francis. Obviously, when he is released, we'll see how it goes. But at this point in time, they're satisfied that she will be appropriately protective, and we won't see any issues around that.
What's his release date? Anytime soon?
Perhaps Mr. Morales can help. I don't have an answer to that, Your Honor.
I don't have an answer to that myself, Your Honor. I'll get that.
Okay. Well, yeah, she just needs to understand the rules are the rules, and if she violates them, then we lose that as placement, and so. Okay, Mr. Morales, anything to report today?
No, Your Honor. I have nothing to add.
Okay, Mr. Novak?
I have my recommendation when the court's ready, but I did have a question for either Madison or Michaela. What is the visitation plan? I know what the visitation plan that has been filed, it's 1 hour a week virtual, supervised, obviously. When the kiddo moves back with grandma, going to be closer, obviously, what is the plan for visitations?
Yes, the plan for visitation will be 1 hour a week in person. We're hoping to get those therapeutic visits today. That's what we're asking for. At the least, they would be supervised in-person visits here.
Excellent. Thank you. Judge, that was the only question I had.
All right, and your recommendation today?
My recommendation is to maintain the department as TMC, approve the new placement, supervised visits, obviously. And my concern, and this goes for both mom and dad, is boundaries. We had some issues with boundaries with placement when they were, 1,000 miles away. This is going to be a lot closer. So that's a concern, and I'll be following it closely. But my recommendation is TMC, approve the new placement, supervised visits. And I have been in touch with current placement, and Maya is current on all her medical needs. She's doing well. She spent a week in respite. She did very well there. The child's doing well, Judge.
Okay. All right.
Your Honor, if I may, Ms. Carthel just noted the request regarding therapeutic visitations, and I think the basis for that is because, as documented in the report, the child has had some pretty significant behavioral problems following the visits, and the hope is that with therapeutic intervention as part of the visits, those things can be kind of taken care of going forward. I didn't know if Mr. Nowak had any objection to that, or that was part of his recommendation.
That I 100% in favor of that. I've read what placement reports after visits, and the child needs some therapy. And, you know, the person visiting the child needs to engage in that therapy as well, in my opinion. Thank you. Thank you, Gene, and thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, we'll for sure do that. So, okay. All right, then today I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will.
Judge, Judge, I apologize. My client would like for me to let you know that she would like the court to discontinue temporary managing conservatorship and to place the child with her. She believes that she is now in a place that she can have Maya with her, and that there's no need for the department to be involved.
Because of her mental health, like I feel like her mental health is just going down further, and if I can stop that now, because the place that I am at, and I'm doing everything on my side that I need to do, but it feels like with the visits, she's getting worse and worse, and the only way that that's going to help, I feel like, if she comes back with me.
And I understand, Ms. Patino, but I don't have a comfort level doing that today. I want to get her back closer to home. I think that will make an enormous improvement, but let's do the therapeutic visits. I think that will give you some assistance, you know, with dealing with Maya's issues. And, you know, let's see how those go, and then move forward with visitation, which will increase, you know, as we deal with some of these issues and as we see you completing some services. You know, I know you've initiated some things and all that, but we want to see some completion of things. And then, you know, the normal course is then we start looking at reunification. So that's what we're going to do. So today I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue the child's current placement until we can get the home study approved and move the child. I'm going to order your service plan as an order of the court. And what that means is you got to work those services. If you fail to work your services, it could mean the child doesn't come home. And worst case scenario, Ms. Patino, it could mean termination of your parental rights. So those services are really critical. They're important, and there's a reason for each and every one of them. So you need to just keep doing what you're doing and get them worked. Okay. I'll find that there would be a continuing danger to return the child home today. We'll start with the therapeutic visits in person when we get the child moved back to this area. And, you know, if those are going fairly well, then I have no problem with St. Francis, you know, upping the visits and maybe adding an additional hour a week that's not therapeutic. If we start struggling, then we'll pull back on it and go back to all therapeutic visits. But, you know, let's just see how it goes. So, you know, these situations are always different. So I'm going ahead and giving St. Francis permission to, you know, start with those and then to increase some additional time if those visits go well for the child.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. I'll see everybody back for our initial permanency hearing on January 7th of 2025, and that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. We're here today for our initial permanency hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record this morning. All right, we will take announcements.
Morning, Judge, Counsel. This is Gene Graff and Angela Tidwell present and ready to proceed on behalf of St. Francis.
Jerry Morales,
Go ahead.
Jerry Morales for respondent father, Your Honor. He is incarcerated in TDCJ unit. I'm ready.
Tracy Riley appearing for the mother, Priscilla Patino, and I'm present, ready, and so is she.
Vince Noack for the child ready, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right then, Ms. Tidwell, I guess you're the one that's going to give us an update.
Yes, ma'am. So Maya is doing great in placement. She's thriving, she's healthy, and she's real happy. She's placed at a kinship placement right now. And Priscilla is doing amazing. She is almost done with all of her services. She's completed her counseling, and I have requested those notes from Mr. Jennings, but I haven't got a response. They've been off for 2 weeks. And she has therapeutic visits with Maya, and I've also requested those notes from Mr. Jennings because I would like to move those visits from therapeutic to supervised. She's also completed an OSAR assessment, which was recommended that she takes a drug risk education course. She's completed that and submitted that certificate, and I've submitted that to the court. She has given me 3 months of clean drug screens. She has stable employment, stable housing, and I'm also waiting for Mr. Jennings to see if we're going to go forward with the psychological. And she just has one more service, and that's a WAVE support group. Mr. Santiago, he's at the Kyle unit, and he's doing a program, Safe P, and he should be released on April 22nd. I have sent him a letter and his family plan of service to sign, and I've also set him up with a courtesy worker, Kaylin, and she'll meet with him this month.
All right, have we sent him anything that he can do while he's still incarcerated?
I believe the program that he's in right now, some of those services will count towards his services. But I just received this case a month ago, so I need to check with the prison to see what I'm allowed to send in. And I'll gladly do that. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
No, that's all right. Okay, sounds good. All right, anything else?
No, everybody's doing well. I'm really proud of Priscilla. She's doing a great job.
So other than waiting on Dr. Jennings' notes about moving to supervised, that's the only holdup?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, then, Ms. Riley?
Judge, we just, Priscilla is doing great on the WAVE program. Family Support Services, I don't believe, believes that Priscilla is eligible for WAVE. As the court knows, WAVE is specific in domestic violence situations and specifically intimate partner violence. And so because she's enrolled already in counseling with Steve Jennings, I don't think that they will let her in the program. She tried to get enrolled, they would not. And so I would just ask the agency to not make that a requirement, pending that Priscilla can provide them the email that says that she's ineligible.
Okay, Ms. Tidwell, any problem with that?
There's not a problem with that, but when I stepped with my supervisor, the reason why she's pushing for her to do the WAVE program is because in the beginning, Priscilla was asked to do domestic violence classes. And according to Ms. Carthel, the permanency specialist prior to myself, she stated that Priscilla had admitted that there were physical altercations on both sides, and that's why my supervisor was pushing for her to complete the WAVE program.
Yeah, and I don't think my client feels like domestic violence has been an issue for her for a very long time. I know she was involved years and years and years ago in a relationship that was not healthy for her, but she left that relationship. And I think she feels like there was a confusion when she talked about domestic violence, and that somehow that got, that Ms. Carthel thought that she was referring to this relationship, but actually she was talking about prior relationships with a prior child. And so there's been no domestic violence in her recent history.
let me just ask, because I had a prior note that was during a hearing, and I was taking notes, and I said there are very definite issues between mother and father. Mother alleges serious domestic violence. And I certainly took that was against the father in this case.
Can I speak for myself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the whole situation with the rave program, when I went there, they're asking me if I've slashed tires, did I call him out of his name? Did I abuse him in any way? Did I do any bad things to him? And that was not the case. I've never did any of those things to him. And if anything, you know, like back then there was police reports where he was the aggressor, where he was removed out of the house because he was throwing things. He threw all the furniture. He wouldn't let the kids go to sleep. And there was a police report about it. I'm not too sure how long ago it was, but like I said, the reason why I wasn't eligible was because I'm not the aggressive one. If anything, I'll do domestic violence groups. And whenever I asked Miss Madison about how many domestic violence groups do I have to do, she told me to do just enough to get a certificate, which family services, they only do like one group and you get a certificate. So then whenever all this happened, I had Angela, and Angela told me not to do anything that's not on the service plan. So that's where it gets confusing.
So, Ms. Tidwell, is it really appropriate that she do waive, or can we kick this back to Dr. Jennings to do maybe a few additional counseling sessions or something like that?
Fine.
Sounds like that's a yes, Judge. To your
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
What I'm more interested in, Ms. Patino, is that you don't find yourself back in that situation.
Yes.
Are you willing to do a few more sessions with Dr. Jennings that might give you some education on this?
Honestly, whatever to get my daughter back. If y'all feel some type of way for me to do these, then I'm more than willing to do it.
I mean, you finished your individual counseling, correct?
Yeah.
So,
I also finished my parenting classes. I did the Mr. Timmons class, the 8-hour course. Pretty much I did the 8 weeks of the drug classes, and I should have more clean drug tests than 3. There should be more clean tests on there than just 3.
Okay, I have Ms. Tidd will be looking at that, but while we're talking about this other situation, so have you been in any other relationships where you were the victim of domestic violence?
No. Well, my kid's dad, but we separated when all that happened, but ever since this last relationship, I haven't been in a relationship at all, and I'm currently not in a relationship. I don't plan to be in a relationship at all.
Well, okay. You're still very young. I think it might be unrealistic to expect that you're never going to be involved with somebody ever again. So my point is, if you've been in more than just this one relationship where there's domestic violence, I would just really like to see you have that addressed by a professional to give you some education about what are the warning signs, what to watch for, what to be sure you need to protect your children from.
Well, see, the relationship, he has my older 2. So, I mean, honestly, I understand all the do's and don'ts of a relationship as of now. I do have access to my other children at this point. As the first came about January 1st, there's another court order in place on my other 2 children, and I get them basically, I pay child support, and I get them the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th weekend, and then I also get them Wednesday, the whole day Wednesday, and keep them Wednesday night, take them to school Thursdays.
Okay.
So,
well,
I get what you're saying though, and I have been doing a lot of self-love and
finding right now in this time that I don't have my daughter. And I think, I mean, if y'all need to put me in a program of some more knowledge, then that's fine with me.
I think it can be handled by just getting back with Dr. Jennings for a few sessions. Let Dr. Jennings sort of give you some information about that. And, then I think that should take care of it.
Thank you.
So Ms. Tidwell, if you'll send, required paperwork and everything for payment and all that, then, and with, with some direction to Dr. Jennings about why she's being sent back.
Yes, ma'am.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Will I be able to get my daughter back today?
Nobody has presented that to me today. Generally, we want to see you complete services. And then we take a look at reunification, and that's a stepped up kind of thing. I mean, you're going to be going from therapeutic to supervised visits. Quite frankly, I'm comfortable going ahead and ordering that you move to supervised visits without Dr. Jennings' therapy notes. I mean, you're making really good progress. So, Ms. Tidwell, I'd like to go ahead and start that. And, let's try to get at least 2 hours a week.
Yes, ma'am.
But, Ms. Patino, it's just still a wee bit early for that. So we need to do some supervised visits, see how those are going. And then, we'll take a look at it. If the department's comfortable moving to something else before our next hearing in May, they can certainly do that. They don't need my blessing, so to speak. If it hasn't happened before our next hearing in May, we'll address it certainly at that point, but I suspect it probably will. So let's just kind of wrap up the things we need to get done, and then let's start the supervised visitation and see how it goes. Okay, Ms. Morales, anything to report?
Nothing to report, Your Honor. Mr. Florentino, his projected release date was March 2024, but obviously he's still not out. He's been eligible for parole since 2021, so I guess we're just kind of at a wait and see. I don't see that any decisions have been made.
Okay. All right, Mr. Nowak.
Nothing to report, just a recommendation if you're ready for it, Judge.
I'm ready.
First, I'd like to thank Angela Tidwell for always taking my calls after hours, before hours. Angela, I promise you one of these days I'm going to call you between 9 and 5. But my recommendation, Judge, is to maintain TMC, to keep the placement, encourage Mom to continue with her services. And I think the supervised visits, given where we started, are a huge step forward. I still think we have a little way to go before moving the kiddo home, but I'm proud of the progress Mom has made in the last couple of months. That's my recommendation, Judge. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Tidwell, he should never make promises that he can't keep.
Yeah.
All right.
Judge, do you think that there's a way now that Priscilla is having her other kids on a regular basis, that we could include maybe another visit of sibling with Priscilla, of course, but sort of a time to kind of reintroduce her to her siblings as well?
Yeah,
I just asked the agency to consider that. I think that's going to be an important going forward. And that would provide Priscilla a little bit more time supervised and a chance to get all of the kids to kind of start to know each other again.
Maybe the first one of those, we would benefit from keeping that therapeutic. I mean, she can still have her 2 hours of unsupervised, but as far as getting the children together the first time, why don't we make that therapeutic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Priscilla, does that work to try to get the kids together too on another time?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect it'll just take the one time, and then we'll be okay to loop them in as we can do that. All right, then, for today, then I'm gonna order that, to Ms. Patino do some additional sessions with Dr. Jennings to address being the victim of domestic violence. I'm gonna order that she can move to the supervised visitation, 2 hours a week. We'll add in the, sibling visit, to be therapeutic on the first occasion, and then I think it'll be fine. I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'll continue Maya's current placement. Find that there would be a continuing and ongoing danger to return the child home, but that mother is certainly in compliance with her service plan. And it appears we are working towards reunification. And as I said earlier, our next hearing will be May 6th of 2025. That's on the 9 o'clock docket. So I'll see everybody back at that time.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Judge. Permission to leave the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
See you, Vince. Likewise, Judge, I'm done with hearings before Your Honor this morning,
We
so
are
I'd like
here
to
today
check
for
out as well.
status hearing.
Okay, sir.
We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming. And I am recording to the Zoom cloud. So if anybody needs a copy, just let me know and we'll make it available. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I am present and ready with Permanency Specialist Lisa Hooper and Supervisor Jasmine Devroe, both from St. Francis Ministries.
Savannah Kincaid. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
Go ahead. Ladies first.
This is Savannah Kincaid. I represent Miss Motto. We're both present and ready.
Jim Shaw representing the father, present and ready, Your Honor.
Delinda Ebling, attorney and guardian ad litem for the children, present and ready.
All right, thank you. Okay. Ms. Ferguson, who's going to give the update today?
Oh, Your Honor, I would ask Lisa Hooper, the Permanency Specialist of St. Francis Ministries, to do that.
All right, Ms. Hooper.
I was able to meet with James and Maricela yesterday and went over their family plan. I did e-file a family plan that was not signed. They did sign it yesterday, and I will be e-filing that in the next 24 hours. For Mr. Hicks, we are asking him to maintain appropriate residence for a minimum of 6 months to allow the department full, complete access into the home, to refrain from all and any criminal activity, to obtain and maintain a source of legal income, to actively participate in parenting classes for a minimum of 12 hours, to schedule and maintain regular supervised visits, and to have face-to-face contact with permanency specialists for at least once a month, and to participate in a psychological evaluation, and to participate in individual counseling, and to submit to random drug screening. And if he has a positive comeback, he will be referred for a drug and alcohol screening and assessment. And that is all for him.
Okay.
For Maricela, basically the same, refrain from any and all criminal activity, obtain a legal source of income, obtain an appropriate residence for a minimum of 6 months, will allow the department complete and full access into the residence. If she tests positive for a drug test, she'll be referred to a drug and alcohol screening and assessment, to maintain a drug-free lifestyle and submit to random drug testing, participate in a psychological evaluation, to participate in individual counseling, to participate in parenting classes for a minimum of 12 hours, and to schedule and maintain regular supervised visits, family visits, and to have face-to-face contact with the permanency specialist. And that is all for Ms. Mata.
Your Honor, I wanted to ask one bit of clarification for Ms. Hooper. Also for Ms. Motto, if she returns a positive drug test, the department will be requesting that she complete a drug and alcohol assessment. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, and have we done any drug testing yet?
They did drug test in June. They are going, I believe, tomorrow to drug test for July. In June, Miss Mata tested positive for marijuana, and Mr. Hicks tested positive for methamphetamines.
All right, have
Your
we
Honor.
had
Your Honor,
negative UAs yet?
No,
Your
ma'am.
Honor, can I add that there was a hair strand? It's my understanding that Miss Mata on her hair strand was positive for meth in June. Is that correct, Miss Hooper?
I believe so. I would just had the UA
And-
on my mind, so I apologize for that.
And I believe that Mr. Hicks had a negative UA in June, but a positive hair strand for meth in June.
Correct.
You are correct.
And Your Honor, both of the children were drug tested pursuant to the court's order. And both of the children also returned a positive hair strand for meth.
So, here's where what I'm getting to. So are we having any in-person visits at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
1 hour weekly placement is supervising the visits, and they are together with both boys together.
Okay. So Ms. Mata and Mr. Hicks, here's my concern is if we have any further positive UAs for methamphetamine, because that's indicative of recent use. The ages of these children, it concerns me if anybody's actively using methamphetamine because it can be transferred to those children skin to skin.
Yes.
And it's just somewhat the policy of this court that if we've got ongoing positive UAs for methamphetamine and certain other drugs, that I will stop in-person visits until we have negative UAs because it's a safety, it's a health concern for the children, particularly when they're really young.
Yes.
So I'm just giving you a heads up that
Yes, we haven't had that.
as long as we've got negative UAs, we're good, and I'll allow the in-person visits to continue. If we get any positive UAs, then I'll stop the visits until we know that we're negative again. So,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. And it's not trying to be punitive. It's just a safety issue for the children.
Understood.
Okay. Where are we with the home? We had 2 different home studies pending, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are we with that?
For Estella Salinas, her home study was submitted and approved, I believe, on Monday. And the home study for Ophelia McCowan has been submitted and it is pending. And it should be have a result of that probably by the end of this week, first of next week. So we'll be getting it really soon.
So we still have 1 child in each home, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that the plan moving forward? I mean, assuming that the other home study is approved, are we going to leave that in place?
Yes, ma'am. I've spoken with both caregivers. Initially, they were a little nervous. This is their first CPS case and it was overwhelming for them. But they have gotten better. The kids are getting settled and they have both stated that they want to remain as placement for the boys.
Okay. And so is everybody sort of in the same general area?
Yes, ma'am. They're all in Floydada.
Okay, good. Okay. So we can get the children together pretty frequently and then have the in-person visits as long as we've got clean drug tests and.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
have an older sister. I believe she's 7, and she also comes to the visit. So they are having a sibling visit along with their parents.
Okay, great. And let me just ask, I don't know that it'll come into play, but it certainly could. Are both those placements willing to be kind of respite care for each other if somebody needs to kind of jump in and help out?
Yes, ma'am. They have already been helping each other out. So they are sisters, and so they work well together, and they have already been kind of helping each other out.
Okay, great. Very good. Just nice to have a backup.
For sure.
Okay. All right, then before I address parents about service plans, Ms. Kincaid, anything to talk about today?
Yeah, Miss Mata wanted to bring a couple of things to your attention. I don't know if you want to swear her in or if you'd like for me to report it to you.
Yeah, you can report to me, and if something she wants to add, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Miss Motto, whenever prior to the removal, she had a babysitter that she had been using for a couple of years, and she trusted to watch the kids and take care of them and protect them. And unfortunately, Miss Mata came home from work early one day and she reports that she saw this caregiver smoking meth in the home, and she fired that individual. She believes that may explain some of the discrepancy between her levels and the children's levels. And so she wanted to bring that to your attention, that that may have been a contributing factor. And I apologize. I'm under the weather, so I know I sound like a frog.
That's fine. I mean, well, it's not fine that you're not feeling well. I'm sorry you're not feeling well. Well, that's that's fine. We'll see how our drug screens go, and what progress we make.
Yes.
So
yes, Your Honor. And I've explained to her that, the court is going to be concerned about a child's positive screen, whether it came from one person or another person. The concern is the positive screen for the children. So she understands that, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Shaw.
Judge, my client has gone over the services that's been requested with the department and has no objection at this time.
All right, sir. Okay, Ms. Ebling.
I don't know if you want me to talk about the children. I do have one question or concern about the service plan. I don't know if the parents have already done an OSAR, given the positives that they've had already. I don't really see an emphasis on treatment, substance abuse groups or counseling. And that's really why we're here. So I think that's really important to be sure that that's getting addressed, and that whatever expectations the court has for them in regard to that are made really clear right now, so they don't lose any time working on it.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
We have not, oh, I'm sorry. I'm so
go
sorry.
ahead, Ms. Hooper. No.
We have not got the OSAR done yet. We are working on contacting them. I've emailed and called and left a voicemail for them, and I'm waiting on a return call, but I will keep calling them back to see if I can get them so I can talk to them to get them scheduled.
I just didn't see that in the plan at all. So as far as right now, just if they tested positive in future, and did I miss that?
I think that since they have tested positive, we would ask that they do that OSAR as soon as they can, or as soon as we can get in contact with someone to get that scheduled. We would also encourage the parents to be very honest in the OSAR, since it is self-report, because that's the only way we're going to be able to address these issues. So if we could just really encourage them to be honest about drug use, because we are involved for a reason. So we want that to be addressed in order for them to get the children back.
So I guess the question Ms. Edling has, and I have as well, is that in the service plan that they will?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right.
When I call it a drug and alcohol screening and assessment. So that's what I mean by the OSAR.
Okay. So let's just take this one step further. Let's just say that they, either one or both, that OSAR makes some recommendations. Is that, are those services going to be readily available, or is that something that we could address through their individual counselors?
I think it would be dependent on the results from the OSAR. Mm-hmm. But I would expect there to be some additional services that they recommend. Mm-hmm. But it could be possibly addressed in both, the counseling and whatever the OSAR recommends.
Okay, well, let's take a look and see what we'll just see what the recommendations are. My concern is that I know we've had some issues before with service providers for some things in our rural counties. And, the object is not to make this more onerous on the parents than it has to be as far as traveling to get to and from services. So if we have individual counselors involved, if they are, licensed to do any substance abuse counseling, that sometimes is an easier and maybe better fit.
Okay.
And Your Honor, can I just say that, I will speak on behalf of the department that we have grave concerns about methamphetamines use in this case. We have 2 children who were positive. We do believe that the parents, through their services, whether it be counseling or whatever, are going to have to demonstrate that they are changing their lifestyle such that they are not going to be testing positive for drugs, and that they understand the gravity of children being exposed to drugs and drugs being in the home, because we do have the pictures from the date that they were arrested. And I would remind both parents that we have pictures of their home that we can show the court if we have a hearing, that shows an excessive amount of paraphernalia and drugs in the home. So when it comes to talking about how the children got exposed, we can have a hearing over that matter and put on some evidence. But drugs is the reason we're here, and it's the biggest concern of the department.
And I will just tell parents, and this goes in line with what I'm getting ready to tell you about service plans, but I was going to wait and get Miss Ebling's recommendation first, but no time like the present. So today I am making those service plans in order of the court. And so what that means is they are like any court order. I expect you to abide by those and to work those services. And failure to work those services could mean that the children don't come home. In worst case, it can mean termination of your parental rights. So, none of us want to go down that road. We take no joy in going down those roads. And
I want my kids back more than anything. I promise. I got this.
Okay. I mean, you're making me a promise. I'm going to hold you to it. So,
Yes, ma'am.
it's important for you all to know that those services are really important. Each one, there's a reason for each one of those things. And so here's where I'm going to tell you that you can work all these services, but if you can't stay away from drugs, I will not send the children home. I cannot send particularly little children like this. I cannot send children back to a home where there's active drug use. Methamphetamine is extremely dangerous to children. Those of us that do this day in and day out, we see some really terrible things that happen to kids because of methamphetamine use. Lifelong problems that they suffer as a result of exposure. We're talking, children that are ADHD, ADD, children that are autistic, children that, have been exposed at very young ages or in vitro to methamphetamine. So, you can spend a lot of time pouring through the data on this, but I could just tell you, I don't need to look at a whole lot of data to know that methamphetamine is very damaging to a child. It's damaging to you all too. I mean, let's just don't forget about the elephant in the room, but it also impairs your all's ability to make good judgment about your children, about their care and their well-being. So, just make no mistake. We are here because of drugs, and that's the major issue we want to address, because you can take all the parenting classes in the world, but if you can't get drug-free and stay drug-free for a while, then the rest of it really doesn't matter, because I will not send children home to any kind of active drug use. So, I'm not, and folks, I don't mean that to be threatening or intimidating. I really don't. I'm just telling you right up front, so you know what expectations that this court has of you, and kind of what standard we're going to go by. So, take advantage of everything that these folks are going to offer to you, because they really are here to help. We aren't the police. This isn't a criminal court. This court is about trying to turn families' lives around for the better. And that's what all of us want to do. We love success stories. I mean, I just can't tell you, when we have successful parents and kids get to go home and they're happy and they're healthy and the family is all back together again, nothing makes any of us happier than that. I mean, we just sit here and grin ear to ear on those days where we have those successes. So we want that to be your story.
We won't disappoint you, I promise.
All right, Ms. Ebeling, I'm going to go ahead and get your recommendation.
Talk about the children.
Yes.
Jesse is reported to be doing very well. He's engaged in speech therapy and occupational therapy in Lubbock. He's in daycare. I did have some dental work at Covenant Billings and Caps. Replacement reports that he is not suffering any withdrawal symptoms that she is observing. Trip is a little bit different though. His
There's
placement
nothing wrong with
reports.
my son. He's always
Okay,
got
Miss,
beaten up by his big brother. Yes, ma'am. I'm
all right,
sorry.
Miss Mata, don't interrupt, please.
As far as Trip is concerned, his placement reports, he has a lot of mood changes, and we realize he's 2 years old, but his meth levels were a lot higher than his brother's, and I realize those don't compare to adult results, or at least that's my understanding. But she does report that sometimes he acts different than she's accustomed to having seen him in the past. He cries a lot. She even took him to the doctor because he wouldn't stop crying, and that is, and they didn't run any tests on him, but I don't know that he has an infection. That was the only thing they thought might not be feeling well, but nothing showed up. So he doesn't sleep well. He moves a lot. He has trouble being still. And again, he's 2 years old, but she thinks it's more of a restlessness. I think both, I think, report the visits are going well. They both supervise the visits together with the parents. I believe it was Jesse's that said no, it was Tripp's placement that said the parents do respect the boundaries when they tell them it's time for the visit to end. They do respect that. So there's not any concerns about the visits. So I feel like if those are going well now, that's a good sign. Bodes well for the future. So they're doing well. They're adjusting to their placements, but I think they're doing well, all things considered. The main thing is to keep an eye on Tripp's situation. He's been accepted by ECI. I don't think they've gotten any services started yet, but they can work on behavioral therapy with him if needed.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right, Ms. Mata. Now you can tell me what you want to tell me.
Yes, ma'am. It's just I think when she took him to the doctor, he was constipated, from my understanding. It wasn't really like temperamental stuff or nothing. He had constipation, and that's why he was crying.
Okay.
Or that's what my aunt told me. So.
Okay. Well, this is a huge adjustment for children of any age, and some adjust far quicker than others, and so, the siblings aren't together 24/7. That's a big adjustment for them. So there could be lots of reasons why, he's having a period of being unsettled. It may be the methamphetamine, it may be other things. It could be a combination of those things. But, I appreciate the fact that placement is staying on top of this and monitoring, and it might be helpful, Ms. Hooper, for her, if she isn't doing that, to maybe even kind of journal sort of his behaviors, and like, is it worse at certain times of day? Is it aggravated by something else maybe, or is there some trigger? I think, we all kind of go through life day to day, and I think sometimes when we memorialize it on paper and go back and look at it, maybe we can see some patterns that we didn't really identify.
I was able to visit with both caregivers and both the boys yesterday, and I saw a huge difference between yesterday and last month at the very beginning of the case. Yes, they're 2 and 3, so yes, they're going to be loud and run around, but they were having fun together. They weren't as loud, even though they're young, but they were just more settled. It seemed like they were getting along. They were having fun. They sat down and watched cartoons for a little bit, which they didn't do that last month. So I saw a big improvement over last month and this month with the boys.
Okay. So we're headed in the right direction. That's good.
Yes.
Okay. It's just got to be an adjustment period. There's just no question that it's difficult. All right, then. Okay. So you've heard my speech. Y'all know what to expect. And, I want to take this opportunity to wish you both the very best of, success with your services. We're all rooting for you. We want this to have a good ending. So, I will see everybody back, November 13th of 2024. That'll be on a 1 o'clock docket like today. And that's another review hearing. It's called an initial permanency hearing. We'll just kind of do a check-in, see how things are going, see how y'all are coming on your services, see if we've got any problems we need to work out, that kind of thing. So, I'll see everybody back in a couple months, and I hope everything, moves along well and goes well. All right. And I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue the children's current placements. and see y'all back then.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah,
Ms. Ferguson, for
Thank you,
purposes of the order, of course, I would make a finding that there'd be a continuing danger to return. the
Thank you.
children.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much.